Hi and welcome once again. This is Reflections, and I am here to share some things with you that will challenge you and will help you in your walk with the Lord. Or if you don't know the Lord as your personal Savior, give you the opportunity to make that very, very critical decision. Today is going to be a little different. It's going to be a teaching on knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. And I hope that you were able to pick it up. But as I said before, the fact that these are there on my YouTube channel as well as on my Facebook page, you can always go back and listen to them over and over, and you can suck all the marrow out of the bones that you want to get, and that which you don't care for, you can leave it behind. James 1 and verse 5 tells us, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not." He won't rebuke you for it, and it shall be given him. So if you lack wisdom, ask God, and he will give it to you, nothing being held back. I remember several years ago, I was in the country of Malawi on a missions trip. I love missions trips. And we had a crusade, open air crusade, and at the end of the crusade, we had prayer lines, and the team members who were there were praying for different African persons who came in the line. But this one guy who came to me and he said, "Pastor, pray for me. I don't feel very smart. I need wisdom." And it was a very unusual request. I think I've actually shared this before, but he asked me to pray for wisdom. And I says, okay, if you want me to pray for wisdom, the Bible says we can pray for wisdom. So I prayed for him. And he said, thank you, and he left. And I remember, I think it was the next year, I was back in Malawi, and then this man came to me after the crusade again. He said, Pastor, do you remember me? And I didn't remember him, but he says, you prayed for me last time you were here. And you prayed for wisdom. And now I am the assistant pastor in my church. And he was so happy, because I became happy myself, because, this was a direct answer to prayer, and God moved him into a different area of ministry. And he was so pleased that God had given him wisdom that was recognized that he could then be a part of the leadership team of his local assembly. Today I want to give a follow-up and a very simple teaching from last week when I dealt with an attribute of God, that he is all wise, that God is wise. And very important teaching to allow us to trust in him, knowing that God never does anything stupid. He never makes mistakes. Everything he does is just absolutely perfect. So if he's leading us, he will always lead us in the right direction, in the right way, to get us to the right destination. So in this teaching today, it's a simple teaching. I believe it's simple teaching, but I want you to apply it to 2021 and whatever you're facing in this year, to the COVID-19 pandemic, and of course to the situation with the vaccine. I know a lot of people who are seeking for guidance as to whether they should. There are people who have said, yes, I'm taking it, very happy, very comfortable with that. And then others who are saying, I am not comfortable with taking this vaccine. So I want to just give you some little principles that will help you make decisions in that regard. I am not here to tell you whether to take the vaccine. I'm not here to tell you how to deal with COVID. I'm here to tell you what is real, what is true, what is good. And then you take that and you apply it and you decide. Because whatever decision you make, you are responsible for that decision, and you have to live with that decision. Nobody's going to point a finger at Pastor D and say, well, Pastor D tell me to do this or to that. No, that's not going to happen. Many people are conflicted with this whole novel coronavirus pandemic, and we simply don't know who or what to believe. And indeed, I think the modus operandi of hiding in plain sight is being employed, but at the same time, I believe that we are only being told part of the truth. The truth is being put out there so that one day they will be able to say, but we said, we told you. But there are other things that are being hidden. They're not being told to us because they don't want us to know what is going on. So you got both things happening at the same time. And there's also the influence of social media, where a lot of people are able to give you their opinion. Some of it is total conjecture, total hype, while others are based on fact. The difficulty that we have is where one person says this is based on fact, another person says this is based on fact, but the two things are contradictory. And so we are in a difficult place, not knowing quite who or what to believe. So what I want to give you is some principles that will help you deal with that and be able to sort through and know what has to happen. There's also a blowback from the social media, because indeed there is truth that is coming from the social media platforms and the people who subscribe to them. And there's wisdom in there as well. And we need to be able to discern what is true, what is good, what is right, what is wise, and then we need to be able to make application to our own lives and our own situation. Please remember, this is important, please remember that God's end game is being set up, and there are certain evils that must come upon the earth for the devil to do what he wants to do, and that feeds into what God is doing as prophesied in his holy word, especially in the book of Revelation, but not only in the book of Revelation. So always remember, please, if you're a child of God, always remember that there is a big picture. When you get too focused on COVID-19 or this and that, the next, the third, you will miss the big picture of what God is doing and maybe even what the devil is doing. So I want you to keep in mind always that there is a big picture. There's something much bigger than what we are being presented with to our senses that is happening, that is taking place. And also extremely important, please always remember that God is and has always been in control. The devil is not in control. God is in control. That being said, today's reflection, as I mentioned, is about knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Knowledge, simply represented, is the acquisition of information. Very simple, very basic. Whether the information is true, whether it is fiction, whether it is outright deception, it is information that is presented to the senses. For example, let me give you some examples of information or knowledge. The sky is blue. That's information. The sky is pink. That's information. As I said, the issue is not whether it's right or wrong. It's information. And that information becomes knowledge. All right? North America is cold right now. That's information. Barbados is cold right now. That's information. Joe Biden is the president of the United States of America. That's information. Donald Trump will be back in office. That's information. I'm just trying to show you that whether it is right or wrong, truth or fiction, it is information. So that is knowledge, right? So information presented to the senses is knowledge, all right? Now, understanding, that's the next step, is interpreting or finding out the meaning of the information presented, whether the information is true or false, whether it is relevant, etc. It takes into consideration the presenter, the person who is saying what is being said, the context in which it is said, the environment in which it is said, all right? You could say context and environment are the same thing, but I mean something different by the two of them. There are other factors that need to be considered as well to arrive at the meaning of the information or understanding. So, for example, if you're sitting by a window and you begin to shiver, the information, nobody has to say anything to you, the information presented to you is that outside is cold. All right, you're sitting by a window, you're beginning to shiver, so the information is that outside is cold. All right, so the relevance of that information, this is what is important, the relevance of that information to understand what it means as you're shivering, all right, that the air coming through the window is cold and it's making you shiver. The air coming through the window is cold and it's making you shiver. So you understand what is going on, the meaning of your shivering. You interpreted the factors presented to come to a conclusion regarding their meaning. So you're shivering, what does it mean? That's where you get understanding. You investigate, you look at it, you find out what it means, and so you have understanding of knowledge or information presented to you. As I said, let me repeat it. Information presented to you does not necessarily have to be words. It could be a scenario. It could be a situation. It could be an environmental factor, which I just mentioned in beginning to shiver. All right. So the environment is cold. There's cold air coming through the window. So you understand what is happening. So you have knowledge and you have understanding of what that knowledge means, what the information means. All right. I hope you're with me so far. All right. So let's go on to wisdom. This is actually quite simple. But wisdom is the correct application of the understood knowledge. The correct application of the understood knowledge. It's cold outside. All right. The air coming through is making you shiver. You understand the knowledge. You understand what it means. All right. And then you correctly apply your understood knowledge. I hope that's clear. Okay, I don't have an audience right now to say yes or no, so I hope that I presented that in a way that you understand. Right? So you want to apply the knowledge and the understanding of that knowledge to your situation or to your context. So that knowledge usually leads to a decisive action. The action can either be passive, you do nothing, or active, you do something. So let me illustrate it for you in the last couple of minutes I have. Knowledge. The stove is hot. That's information presented to you. The stove is hot. Knowledge, information. Understanding of the stove is hot. Who said it? Can they be trusted? The context in which it was said. You might even experiment by touching the stove to understand what the stove is hot really means. And based on these factors and other factors that you may consider, you come to the conclusion that if you touch the stove, you will be burnt. That's understanding achieved. All right? You got knowledge, you understood the knowledge, you investigated, you even experimented, and that brought you to an understanding that if you touch the stove, you will be burnt. So what is wisdom? Wisdom is the correct application of your understood knowledge or your understanding of the information given. So in the situation with the stove being hot, you apply the knowledge, you apply the understanding of that knowledge, and then you come to a decision, and that decision ends up being passive wisdom. What I mean by passive wisdom? Your action is not to touch the stove, or should I say, you take the decision not to touch the stove because you understand that the stove is hot. That's wisdom. All right. Let me give you one quick illustration of active wisdom. All right. Young lady dating a young man. Someone tells you that he cheated on you. What's that? That's knowledge. That's information. No, I'm not saying that you go and accuse the young man. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you investigate to get understanding of what is true and what is false. Is what has been said to you, is it true or is it fiction? Okay? So you investigate the allegation and you find out it is true. Therefore, you have understanding that your boyfriend is an idiot. Okay? So know that you have knowledge, information, you have understanding of that information. Yes, he cheated on you. He's not a nice person. Then you have to apply wisdom. So you apply your wisdom properly by dumping the man. That is active wisdom. All right? With the stove, it is passive wisdom. You do not touch the stove. In this case, it is active wisdom, or the decision you make leads to an action that causes you to dump the guy and move on with your life. Okay, so your application can end up being passive or active, depending on the particular situation or the particular knowledge that you have. Now, here's what I want you to do. I mentioned it in the beginning, I'm mentioning it now at the end. Take the principle of information or knowledge, understanding of the information or knowledge, and then the correct application of your understood knowledge or your understood information. And I want you to take the vaccine information, investigate it, make a decision. Make a wise decision based on your understanding of the knowledge there. All right? The whole COVID-19 situation, the masks, the social distancing, the washing of the hands. I want you again, take the information, investigate it, make a wise decision. Either active or passive, that's your decision to make. And then let's step back just a little bit further. 2021. All the information that is presented to you, investigate it, try to understand it, and make an active, wise decision as to how you will deal with it. All right? Take all the factors into consideration, what the world is saying, what the world is happening, but the God that you serve. Put them all together and make a wise decision and bring glory and honor to God. And if I may borrow from what I've been sharing with you, make 2021 great. God bless you. Thanks for being here.